What if I told you, there's a species not defined by logic, not ruled by calculation, but by something far more unpredictable? Compassion. Curiosity. Connection. In the far reaches of the galaxy, advanced civilizations watched us, humans, expecting conflict, expecting chaos. But what they found was something they could never predict. Today, we uncover a story of first contact unlike any other. A story where kindness rewrote galactic history, and emotions proved more powerful than technology. Stay with us as we reveal the silent accord, and maybe, just maybe, you'll see humanity from a whole new perspective. In the endless darkness of space, the Sentinel Arc, a vast observation vessel of the Galactic Coalition, floated silently. Its sleek, metallic frame shimmered faintly under the glow of distant stars. Inside, the hum of machines echoed like a mechanical heartbeat, steady and cold. Director Vial, leader of the insectoid race known as the Zilla, stood at the command deck. His tall, angular form, covered in shimmering carapace plates, was motionless except for the constant flicker of his compound eyes scanning the holographic data streams. Suddenly, the control panel pulsed red. The detection systems had picked up something anomalous activity from a planet they had long dismissed. Terra 3, a blue-green sphere tucked away in an unremarkable solar system. Vial leaned closer, mandibles clicking softly. Analysis complete, the ship's AI announced in a sterile tone. The inhabitants of Terra 3 have initiated quantum communication protocols. Crude, yet functional. Commander KRYNN, a reptilian strategist standing nearby, narrowed his yellow eyes. That's impossible. They were projected to remain isolated for another century. Vial didn't respond immediately. Instead, he zoomed in on the holographic display, the swirling clouds and blue oceans of Terra 3 rotating slowly before him. The data was undeniable. He spoke at last, his voice cold, measured. Have we miscalculated their development trajectory so gravely? A soft chime announced the arrival of Science Officer Lyra, the youngest member of their crew. Lyra, smaller in stature but sharp-eyed, studied the readings carefully. Their progress contradicts all prior models, she said. We have underestimated them. The room fell silent for a moment, the stars outside blinking like distant eyes. Vial straightened. Prepare a first contact mission, he ordered. This species may no longer be ignored. As the crews scattered to execute his command, Vial remained still, watching the holographic Earth. In the cold, logical world of the Coalition, unpredictability was dangerous. And Terra 3 had just become the most unpredictable factor of all. The sterile corridors of the Sentinel Arc stretched endlessly, a gleaming maze of metal and glass suspended in the void. The vessel had drifted silently through countless star systems, always observing, never interfering. But now, something unexpected had disturbed the calculated rhythm of its voyage. Inside the central command chamber, holographic screens floated mid-air, flickering with images intercepted from Terra 3, the planet the Coalition had long categorized as unremarkable. Director Vial stood rigid at the helm, his tall insectoid frame casting elongated shadows under the cold artificial light. His compound eyes shifted rapidly, processing streams of data. The screens displayed fragmented human broadcasts, chaotic visuals of humans in combat, vivid explosions, machines clashing, voices shouting over one another. Quick cuts showed humans pushing themselves in survival situations, competing, fighting, always striving to dominate. Beside him, Commander KRYNN folded his scaly arms. KRYNN belonged to the Draxin, a reptilian species who valued strategy, order, and strength above all. He narrowed his sharp yellow eyes, scanning the footage. Primitive, KRYNN muttered, voice low and rasping. They glorify conflict. War games, survival trials, contests of power. A species obsessed with hierarchy and aggression. Vial said nothing, watching a human soldier on screen running toward danger, fire reflecting in his eyes. Data streamed beside the image, analyzing human behavior patterns. The chamber doors hissed open. Science Officer Lyra, the youngest member of the crew, entered quietly. Unlike her superiors, Lyra's mind was not yet dulled by millennia of protocol. Her delicate insectoid limbs moved with precision as she approached the central display. She tilted her head, antennas twitching as she reviewed the intercepted media. They are inconsistent, she spoke softly, almost to herself. Their visual records suggest constant competition. Conflict defines their entertainment. But there are irregularities. Vial turned his gaze to her. Explain. Lyra flicked her slender fingers, bringing up data overlays. Amid the chaos of battles and competitions, she highlighted scenes that deviated brief, almost hidden moments of humans embracing after victory, sharing food, laughing, or weeping over fallen comrades. They react emotionally, irrationally, Lyra continued. They compete fiercely, but they also display behaviors that contradict their survivalist patterns. Compassion. Mourning. Cooperation. It's unpredictable. Commander Krynn scoffed. Sentiment. A weakness. Such unpredictability makes them dangerous. Vial remained motionless, thoughtful. Perhaps, he said at last, his voice cold but measured. Or perhaps, it makes them something else. He shifted his attention back to the blue-green planet suspended in the hologram. The analysis was clear: the humans had achieved rudimentary quantum communication capabilities decades ahead of projected timelines. It challenged the Coalition's models built on thousands of years of calculated observation. Have we misjudged their evolutionary trajectory? Vial asked quietly. Lyra hesitated. It's possible. They developed rapidly but unevenly. Technological leaps coupled with emotional volatility. Vial's compound eyes narrowed. His mind processed thousands of potential outcomes, none fitting cleanly within the expected parameters. Uncertainty gnawed at the edges of logic. For the Coalition, uncertainty was a threat. He spoke, voice echoing through the chamber. Summon the Council. Inform them we are initiating first contact. Commander Krynn shifted uneasily. We proceed with caution, I assume. Caution is required, Vial confirmed. Prepare the team. Minimal armaments. No sudden movements. Monitor their emotional responses carefully. He glanced once more at the swirling image of Terra 3. A species that defies calculation demands close observation. Lyra quietly filed away the last intercepted broadcast. A lingering shot showed two human children holding hands, watching a sunset, fragile beings amidst a chaotic world. Something about it stayed with her long after she left the room. The descent to Terra 3 was silent, almost reverent. The vast vessel Sentinel Arc, shimmering like a phantom in the early morning sky, sliced through the thin blue atmosphere. Its hull reflected soft clouds and golden sunlight, a stark contrast to the cold, calculated machinery within. Below, the landscape stretched in peaceful stillness. Rolling fields, clusters of trees, and a small village Astor Hollow rested unaware of what hovered above. Inside the ship's landing bay, Director Vial stood flanked by Commander Krynn and Science Officer Lyra. Their forms were rigid, postures precise. Each carried layers of data, protocols, and years of detached observation. And yet, none of their preparations accounted for what awaited them. The landing was executed flawlessly, with no detectable disruption to the surroundings. Their exit hatch opened with a hiss, the sterile air of the Ark meeting the crisp scent of Earth's dawn. Lyra stepped out first. Her polished exosuit gleamed under the sunlight, reflecting the soft greens and browns of the human countryside. Behind her, Vial and Krynn followed, scanning the area with practiced caution. Instead of armed forces or barricades, they were met by something entirely unexpected: people. Dozens of humans stood at a distance, their expressions curious rather than fearful. No weapons, no defensive stance. Just villagers in simple clothes, shading their eyes, pointing, whispering. Children peeked from behind legs and fences. Then, moving slowly through the small crowd, came an elderly woman. Her steps were careful but steady, her wrinkled hands clutching something, a simple porcelain cup. She stopped a few meters from Lyra, smiled, and through the translator device, spoke. "You must be tired from such a long journey. Here. I brought you some tea." Lyra's antennas twitched in confusion. Her protocols screamed, "Caution! Avoid contact! Observe first." But the woman's gaze held no threat. Only something unfamiliar: warmth. Behind her, more villagers approached, not soldiers, but families. Some held small gifts: fruit, cloth, handwritten signs with shaky letters. And then came the smallest humans, children, eyes wide with innocent wonder, tugging at parents' sleeves. One small girl broke away, approaching carefully. She looked up at Lyra's polished exosuit and asked softly, "Are you a robot?" Lyra hesitated, struggling for the appropriate response. "No," she said, voice modulated flatly. "I am not a robot." The girl reached out timidly, fingertips hovering near Lyra's arm. "Can I touch your armor?" Lyra glanced at Vial, who remained impassive but gave a slight nod. Slowly, cautiously, she extended her forearm. The child giggled, gently tapping the smooth surface. "It's cool. Like a beetle's shell." Lyra filed the observation away mechanically, yet something stirred uncomfortably beneath the layers of data she carried. Director Vial scanned the faces surrounding them, smiling, curious, unarmed. This was not how first contact scenarios unfolded. No barricades. No suspicion. No hostility. It was unsettling. He turned to Krynn, who spoke quietly, voice taut. "There's no defensive posture. No demand for surrender. This behavior deviates from all projections." Vial remained silent, antennae flicking subtly. This world, it seemed, had not read the Coalition's expectations. 2 days later, they were invited to the human city of New Serenity. Their shuttle glided over patchwork farmlands and clusters of dwellings until sprawling streets came into view. Buildings climbed skyward, simple compared to Coalition architecture, yet vibrant, full of color and motion. As they descended into a clearing at the city's edge, a crowd awaited them once again. But not the kind of crowd the Coalition trained its envoys to manage. People waved from sidewalks, some holding signs hastily scrawled with phrases like "Welcome visitors, friends from the stars." Children waved paper flags, some humans bowed respectfully as the alien delegation passed. Inside the main municipal hall, they were met by Mayor Solon, a middle-aged human with calm eyes and a deep, steady voice. The room had been prepared with odd care, chairs adjusted to accommodate Zilla physiology, atmospheric controls subtly tweaked to match their preferences. Solon bowed deeply. "We are honored by your presence," he said without hesitation. "We have many questions, but first, is there anything you need for your comfort?" Commander Krynn stiffened. "Comfort? Such considerations were irrelevant during diplomatic protocols. Security, order, efficiency, those were priorities. Director Vial responded coolly, "Your atmosphere is sufficient. We require no special arrangements." But Solon smiled gently. "Perhaps then, you might tell us about your world." Throughout the meeting, humans asked questions not about weapons or defenses but about culture, society, the stars beyond. They offered stories about Terra 3, jokes, songs. Lyra observed quietly. No attempts to extract technological secrets. No demands. Merely curiosity. Later, she recorded in her log. Humans prioritize individual exchange over strategic gain. This behavior lacks logical efficiency. Further observation required. Yet even she felt the rigid framework of her understanding beginning to tilt. That evening, something unthinkable occurred. Rather than returning to their ship, the delegation was invited politely, insistently to stay in human homes. Vial's protocols protested internally. The coalition forbade unnecessary mingling during first contact. But refusal might damage relations irreparably. Lyra found herself standing awkwardly inside the modest dwelling of Dr. Elena Ward, a human scientist who had offered to host her. The house was unlike anything she'd ever encountered. Advanced technology hummed quietly in corners, communication devices, environmental regulators, but amidst it all were strange, primitive objects, shelves of paper books, framed photographs, soft-woven fabrics. Lyra ran a finger along one of the books, frowning. "These objects serve no obvious function," she said. Elena smiled, placing a cup of something warm and fragrant in Lyra's hands. "Not everything we keep is about function," Elena replied. "Sometimes, they remind us who we are." Later, at their evening meal, Elena's young son Theo stared openly at Lyra. His eyes were filled not with fear, but fascination. "Do you have a family?" he asked suddenly. Lyra hesitated. "I have genetic counterparts. Relationships based on function." Theo frowned, poking at his food. "That sounds lonely." The word hung heavy in the air. That night, Elena prepared a room carefully adjusted to Lyra's biological needs. As she left, she turned back and said, "If you need anything at all, just let us know. You're safe here." Lyra stood in the unfamiliar stillness, recording her daily report. Humans exhibit excessive concern for the emotional and physical comfort of others, including unfamiliar non-human entities. The behavior seems illogical. And yet, lying awake, the word Theo had used echoed uncomfortably in her mind. Lonely. The next morning, the soft golden light filtered through the windows of Dr. Elena Ward's home. Outside, the city of New Serenity hummed quietly to life, children rushing to schools, vendors setting up colorful stalls, people exchanging greetings in the streets. Lyra stood by the window, watching. In her world, morning routines were efficient, mechanical. Yet here, the humans appeared to move at a pace that had no apparent logic. Elena entered the room carrying a small plate of fruit and bread. She placed it gently on the table beside Lyra. "We usually start the day with something light," she explained casually. Lyra inclined her head, observing. "Your species invests significant effort in small, non-essential rituals." Elena smiled. "They are not essential by your standards. But they make the day better." Later, walking through the market streets with Elena and Theo, Lyra continued her silent observations. She noticed humans stopping to chat with strangers, some handing out food to the homeless, others laughing openly as they exchanged small, seemingly unimportant stories. One man knelt by the roadside, carefully bandaging the injured paw of a stray animal, a creature that neither spoke their language nor served any productive purpose. Why expend resources on a creature with no benefit? Lyra asked, genuinely puzzled. Elena crouched down beside the man, offering water for the animal. Because it's the right thing to do, she answered simply. They passed a park where children played freely, their games chaotic and without clear objectives. In one corner, a group of elderly humans sat together, simply enjoying the warmth of the sun, occasionally speaking softly or sharing laughter. In Lyra's mind, a quiet dissonance grew. In the coalition, efficiency was everything. Relationships were structured for utility. Resources carefully balanced. And yet, here, humans gave without calculation, without guarantee of return. That evening, she recorded her report meticulously. Observed behavior continues to contradict predictive models. Humans prioritize emotional satisfaction and relational bonding over logical outcomes. Actions lack measurable gain, yet result in increased cohesion. For the first time, Lyra found herself unable to explain what she was witnessing. On the third week of their stay, the sky darkened unexpectedly. It started with subtle shifts, magnetic readings fluctuating, atmospheric disturbances rippling through the upper layers. The Sentinel Ark's advanced sensors detected the anomaly first, a massive solar flare, rapidly accelerating toward Terra 3's hemisphere. Inside the Coalition Command Center aboard the Ark, alarms pulsed. Director Vial stood before a massive holographic display, watching real-time data streams. The flare's intensity exceeds prior thresholds, KRYNN reported, his voice tight. Their primitive systems failed to detect it until minutes ago. Impact in 4 hours. Coalition protocols were clear: preserve the mission, withdraw the team, avoid local entanglement. Orders arrived swiftly from the Council. Secure yourselves. Do not intervene. Mission integrity above local interference. Vial relayed the command without emotion. But down below, in the city streets, the human response unfolded at a breathtaking pace. No panic. No chaos. Instead, immediate coordination, emergency broadcasts filling the airwaves, community leaders organizing evacuations. Volunteers rushed to assist the elderly, parents gathered their children. Shelters opened, transportation rerouted. And most startling of all, space was made in the shelters. Not just for humans, but specifically for the alien visitors. When a human official approached Vial's team, offering placement in the underground shelters, Vial remained silent for a long moment. "This is not your responsibility," he finally said. The man smiled, shaking his head. "Of course it is. You're here. You're part of us now." Inside the Ark, Commander KRYNN stood rigid at the control console, eyes flicking from Vial to the screen displaying human evacuation routes. "They've included us in their plans," KRYNN murmured. His voice carried an undertone of something unspoken: disbelief, perhaps even unease. Science Officer Lyra watched silently, her antennas twitching. She replayed the interactions of the past weeks in her mind: smiles offered without suspicion, children waving, strangers helping without request. Director Vial stared at the display for a long time. Then he spoke, his voice sharper than before. "We will not retreat." KRYNN's head snapped toward him. "Director, the Council." "I will take responsibility," Vial cut him off. "Deploy energy shields. Reinforce their shelters. Lyra, assist their communication centers." For a species driven by order, this decision broke every rule. As night descended, the alien team worked alongside the humans. Coalition technology bolstered ancient human structures. Advanced shielding, enhanced warning systems. The humans never questioned why the aliens stayed. They simply worked together shoulder to shoulder, species distinctions forgotten in the urgency of survival. Then word came through another alien vessel, belonging to the Zerans, had been caught in the flare's preliminary wave. Damaged, spiraling toward crash near the river basin. The Zerans were no allies. In fact, history between the Zilla and Zerans was long marked by conflict. Lyra glanced at Vial. They won't survive without assistance. Vial's eyes narrowed, his voice steady. Prepare a landing team. When they arrived at the crash site, human emergency teams were already there. Without hesitation, humans rushed to carry injured Zerans from the wreckage, treating them as if they were their own. One human family even cleared space in an overcrowded shelter for an injured Zeran scientist. Later, Lyra asked them quietly, "Why help them? You don't know them." The father simply shrugged. "They needed help. What else would we do?" There was no calculation. No strategy. No benefit. Only instinct. Dawn broke slowly after the solar storm. The once roaring winds had quieted, leaving behind a hushed stillness. The shelters across New Serenity began to open, and streams of people and aliens stepped out into the faint light, blinking against the debris-filled air. Director Vial stood near the city's center, antennas lowered as he observed the humans emerging. Some were injured, many tired, but their first instinct was to check on one another. Strangers embraced, supplies were shared freely, and small groups formed naturally to assist the elderly, tend to the weak, and rebuild broken structures. Across the clearing, Vial's eyes caught sight of something peculiar. A human child was holding hands with a Zeran child, two beings whose species had, until days ago, no common ground. No shared history except mutual avoidance. Yet there they stood, giggling, showing each other trinkets found amidst the rubble. Nearby, Lyra quietly watched a team of humans coordinating with her fellow Zilla researchers. The humans had no understanding of coalition hierarchy, yet they accepted the alien presence without hesitation, sharing tasks, ideas, and space with an ease that defied protocol. It was illogical. Later that evening, Vial recorded his report to the Coalition Council. But his hand hovered over the data console longer than usual. Observed behaviors on Terra 3 diverged from standard models. He spoke into the recorder, his voice measured, yet unsure. Humans exhibited crisis response strategies prioritizing collective welfare over self-preservation. Notably, they extend aid to non-aligned species, regardless of historical context. Actions are driven by emotional factors rather than logical efficiency. Result: improved survival rates and cohesion across species boundaries. He paused. Something about these humans was disrupting centuries of carefully calculated models. And Vial found himself unable to dismiss it. 3 days after the storm, another alert sounded through Sentinel Ark's comms. A seismic disruption triggered by the flare's aftershock had compromised the main evacuation center outside the city. Hundreds, both humans and aliens, were trapped beneath unstable structures. Orders from the Coalition Council arrived swiftly: withdraw. Protect the mission. Do not engage further. Inside the Ark, Vial relayed the directive to his team. Silence followed. His crew exchanged glances, not the usual obedience, but hesitation. Outside, they could see humans organizing yet again without command, without calculation. Volunteers rushed toward the danger, not away. They worked side by side, carrying strangers on stretchers, digging through debris, risking their lives. Among them, Vial noticed Sora, the small human girl from Aster Hollow, lifting supplies far too large for her size. When she spotted Vial's gaze, she waved eagerly. Are you coming to help? She called, breathless but smiling. Vial felt something twist, something unfamiliar, deep in his exoskeleton. Orders pulsed in his mind, cold, logical, irrefutable. And yet, without thinking, he found himself walking forward. "We will stay," he announced to his team. No one questioned him. Months passed. Reports flowed steadily back to the Coalition Council. Detailed, clinical, but increasingly difficult to categorize. The council chambers buzzed with unease. Humans, they argued, were too unpredictable. Their emotional responses overrode logical governance. Dangerous, unstable, uncontrollable. But the footage spoke louder. Humans standing between enemies to protect civilians. Humans extending hands to alien species without strategic gain. Humans creating alliances not by treaties, but by acts of kindness that could not be calculated. Director Vial stood before the gathered elders, posture straight, voice calm. "It is precisely their unpredictability," he said, "that makes them invaluable." He displayed the holographic data scenes of the storm, of recovery efforts, of humans, Zerans, and others working together, not bound by rules but by instinctual care. The chamber quieted. The vote was close. But in the end, Terra 3 was admitted to the Galactic Coalition. 6 months later, at the grand hub of the Coalition, species from across the galaxy gathered. Representatives from worlds once separated by distance and distrust now shared tables, research, even games. In one corner, Lyra stood watching a curious sight: a human child teaching a young Zeran how to play a game involving colorful stones and laughter. Nearby, Director Vial observed silently as a delegation of humans exchanged gifts with insectoid dignitaries. The Coalition's grand halls, once rigid, now echoed with unfamiliar sounds, music, conversation, the blending of cultures that logic alone had never bridged. Outside, on a balcony overlooking the swirling stars, Vial felt a small tug at his arm. It was Sora, smiling wide. "Look," she said, pointing at the vast galaxy stretching before them. "Isn't it beautiful?" He had been asked this question before. This time, he answered without hesitation. "Yes," Vial said softly, his antennae relaxed, his voice certain. "It is beautiful. And perhaps," he thought, "not everything valuable needed to be measured." So, after all the calculations, all the strategies, and all the protocols, it wasn't advanced weapons or superior logic that reshaped the galaxy. It was something much simpler: a helping hand, a shared smile, a choice to care without reason. What does that say about us? Are emotions humanity's greatest strength, or its biggest risk? We want to hear your thoughts. Would you trust emotions over logic in a universe full of unknown species? Drop your comment below. Let's see how you would navigate the stars.